Before we start this video, I want to touch on something. We're going to have giveaways. I always try to give things away at videos anytime I get a chance to. And Swanson is one of the companies that's nice enough to give me some products for you guys. Now, they agreed to give away 3 tape measures, 3 framing wizards, and 3 speed bevels. This right here is a bevel square that's not only a speed square, but it is a bevel. So you can copy angles with this. And then you lock it back into position and you have a speed square. Pretty cool little tool. The framing wizard is a fold-up framing square, which is great. It has a lot of other features, and I'm going to be doing videos on this a little later. And of course, this is my tape measure that I invented. It's called the ProScribe. They came out with a smaller model when it first came out, and now they made the improvements that we've been looking to make. The first 150 people that comment, we're going to choose from that, and Swanson's going to send them to you. So three different winners we'll have out of the first 150. Before you start any of this, you have to know where your ceiling joists are. And one way of doing it is looking at your ceiling if you scraped it already. And now I scraped this and I can see my divots. I can see exactly where nails are that are holding up the rock. And that's where my ceiling joist will be. So what you'll do is you look for the spot and you'll drill right where or next to where you see a divot. I know I'm hitting something, so I have a ceiling joist there. Now I'll just go to the side of it, one side, and if it goes all the way through, I know I'm close to the edge, so I'll go to the other, and I'll move over till I get to the edge, outside edge. So now I know this is the outside edge and this is the outside edge. I put a mark on the first part that hit the ceiling joist, and then the second one that hit the ceiling joist. This is the opposite side. Should be 1.5 inches in between there. So my center is right here, and I put arrows so I know exactly where to go when I put my chalk line. You see that little round spot right there? That was a divot that was filled in. That means they had a nail right there. So I'm going to do the same thing right here. I know that this was hitting a ceiling joist. Now I know that I'm right here and here, and this is my center. Since I'm working by myself, what I'm going to do now is run some screws in here right where my ceiling joists are. That way I can pop my lines. I'm just going to hook my chalk box up to it. Make sure I line it up with my arrow over here. Once I line it up, I'll pull it tight, right where I want it to be, pop my line. So we'll go to the next one. There's my arrow. Now what I'm going to do is start cutting this wood, and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that'll make it easier. This is going to be my short point, the point that goes on the wall because it flares out. So I'll make a 45-degree cut right here. Before using your saw, always make sure you have eye protection and ear protection. I have an inside corner right here that I have to measure from, not the outside. And I can't hook my blade on there, and if I'm by myself, I take and set my speed square on the end, right on that edge, and I'll just clamp it. It only takes a minute. That's why I keep a little quick clamp. Clamp it on there, now I can hook it right on this edge and get a perfect measurement. So we'll take the opposite side on here, go to 45, and make this cut. If you take this board right here, your first one, this is your long point, your short point of this next board is going to fall right on it. And you come over here, and this is going to line up. And you're going to continue that pattern until you get through this first part of the 45s. And then the rest of it is going to square off and go straight. I'm using 2-inch 18-gauge nails for this in my Ricalde gun. That's a nice fit right there. Right here we have a can light. And we'd have to get our measurement to the center of this. I'm going to show you an easy way to do this. Once you get your cut across here, we're going to take some toothpaste and put right here around the rim. Now, a lot of times I'll use caulk, but I just want to show you, you can use this too. I'm just going to take my Crest toothpaste and put some on my finger. Now, I went and washed my fingers first so I don't mess up my tube of toothpaste. And also, my wife has a separate one, so she can't get mad at me. This one's mine. And I do this same trick with doors to get the strike plates lined up. And what we'll do is line it up, make sure it's in the right position. Push it tight, right up against there. Pull it down straight. And there you have it. If you haven't seen my previous videos, you may not have seen this. This is a quick release chuck by FastCap, and this is the best one that I've ever used. You turn it 1/4 of a turn and it pops out. I never have to worry about my piece getting stuck in here. And it locks on the same way. You push it in place and you just turn it 1/4 of a turn and it locks. I'll line this up right in the center. You see how my piece is in there? Now watch this. Yeah, that's gonna work. Next, I just need to mark off this edge and this edge from my piece. I'm gonna set it on here and get that, so I'll be able to match my circle up. And now here, this is going to be real simple. Since it's off the edge, this is a mock-up of the ceiling. Now, what I'm going to do is show you how you would get these cuts for the angles. It's simple. This is a strip of wood. I just took a piece of MDF, any type of flat stock. You can use any type of stop molding or whatever that has a flat side on it. Okay? Make sure that your backside facing your wood is flat, okay? Right here. This is going to be mitered to the same angle as your ceiling, and in this case, it's 45 degrees. This is a CA glue, and it's made by FastCap. This is 2P10, and you can get the individual pieces, or you can get a whole kit for $30, which is great. It has all types of glue in it, or different viscosities in it. So, I'm going to take this and just glue this onto my piece of wood. So I'll spray one end, I'll put a little glue on this end, and it only takes a second to bond. Once I have it in there, I'll set it together. Now if you're not using that, like I said, you can take a nail gun and tack it in, or you can just hold it. This makes it a lot easier because when you're up on a ladder and you're working from the ceiling, now you have it all together. Let's pretend this is the ceiling and this is our tray. So we take this, set it right on the edge, slide it over, and right at the flat part of the inside of this is the exact measurement of this. So I'm marking it, I'm transferring it on the wall. I'll come back over and get my measurement from there. I'm at 2 inches. So from this crease to that mark is 2 inches. That's what we want to take off. So let's get a little scrap piece and we'll drop it right here. Now remember, when you look at this, you're not measuring from that tongue. You're measuring from this top part because that's what's flat up against here. We take this measurement and we're going to mark it 2 inches over. So we'll go back over and make this cut. Now, we're not going to cut this part off. What we're going to do is cut it from here over. You see, we're cutting this out because we're matching this corner. I say this all the time in my videos. You always want to leave a tiny part of that mark, half of it or whatever. You just want to have a tiny part of that line so you know you went exactly where you wanted to go. I'm going to take this, and it should fit just right. You see how simple that is? I can do the same thing on the other side. You take your piece, you slide it over, and you make that mark, and you would cut this side the same way. If we're going into the turn, it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to take this and spin it around and show you what I'm talking about when you go into the turn. Now it's just like the other as far as your length of board goes. You want to go from the longest point, which is your flat point, and get that measurement across. Cut your piece of wood to that size. Just say this one ends right here. I'll mark my line from the inside of this channel right here, not the bottom. You remember, we're going to eliminate that. We mark it from where the face is. We set that face right on that mark, and I'll get that measurement from the face, which is that mark, to the crease, which is right here. Once we have that measurement, we've got it. So I'll take that measurement right now, and we have 3 1/4 inches from here to here. That means when we take our blank piece of wood, we're going to measure 3 1/4 inches from here to here to match it, right? We take the tape measure, mark it right here. And what we're going to do is follow that 45. So we'll take this, set it on the end, make sure it's nice and flush. That right there is going to make this match. Here's our board. We'll set it down, keep everything in place, and it fits perfect. Now you can see my cut will just go all the way through. All I have to do is cut it here and here and put two pieces. We have our 2 lines right here as reference marks to measure back, so we're going to go ahead and see how this fits. Perfect. Okay, now I can mark my 2 sides. Make sure you get it just right on the edge of this and this. And then after that, I know I'm going to take this out, so I'll put an X right here. This is going to come back, and we're going to cut this section out. This is straight. It aligns with the wall because I already took my measurements going down here. So this is straight and this is crooked, but it's not that bad. It's going to be an easy fix. We'll take our measurement from this line to the inside of the box, and I have 4 1/4 inches. On this side, I have 4 inches. So it's a 1/4 inch off. So I'm going to take and measure this back 4 1/4 inches and go straight across. It's going to show this lip, and it's going to bring it down here, which is not a big deal because we're going to be mounting onto the wood, so it's still going to fit on there. Remember, we need to go 4 1/4 from the bottom part of this lip. I cut these blocks to an even number, from the point to an even number on the angle, which is 45 degrees. So I measured from here to here, I have 5 inches. I shove one on one side, I shove it on the other side, and then I can easily get my measurement because it's hard to get the measurement with that angle. So we'll take this one, slip it in place, get my right angle on there. I can shove it in tight, it's gonna fit. I gotta scoot over a little bit. I'm not so lucky on this side, it's not gonna wedge in, but it's not a big deal. I wasn't expecting the other side to do that. Okay, I mark this. Now I can take my tape and hook on here. I can get my measurement, and I have 64 1/8. So I'm going to write that on my ceiling. And what I'm going to do is add 10 inches to that, because from my long point on this side to this part is 5 inches, and the same on that. I cut the blocks the same size. So my total is going to be 74 1/8. Point to point, long point. Here's the end of my board. I make sure my lap matches. This is my pattern. Remember, we have 74 1/4 inches from this point to the long point on the other side. I have my scraps from the other side, my cutoffs, and I cut a couple of these. Now all I have to do is take a straight edge and run down this and follow the angle on both of them, and I can get all of my cuts set up. I have just enough wood on this last one. I'm right on it, and that's my cutoffs from the other side, so don't throw your cutoffs away. You're starting to see what this is really going to look like. In the next video, I'm going to cover how I did this crown molding. On top of that, we're going to go a step further, and we're going to show you on future videos how to put the lighting in here. And that's coming up real soon because I'm doing it all now. My recessed lighting ring will just snap right in place. And they're made to give you a little leadway. So that's a no-brainer. That's real easy. My vent is just going to screw into the wood. So that's easy. I just used 2 drywall screws. And this right here would be your only problem that you may run across. And it's an easy fix. My vent right here for my heater and my light sits in there exactly. It mounts exactly on the inner piece. The problem is your screw that sets in here is going to be too short. Come on. What I had to do is extend it. So I bought a sleeve nut right here. You can get this at any local hardware store. They can show you what it is. I brought this nut down to the hardware store and matched it up and got the size I needed. Once I matched up the size, I bought a bolt. You can get a threaded rod or a bolt, anything like that, and you can cut it. All you do is you run a couple of nuts on one side, on the back side, put it in a vise. You cut this with a hacksaw. Once you cut that with a hacksaw, you take the nut and thread it off over here, and it's going to clean that edge up. So I'll take my small threaded rod, screw it into my sleeve. Now I'll screw my sleeve onto there because we're only bringing it down 3/4 of an inch. All we need is a little bit to come on there. We might not even need the full 3/4 of an inch because the nut only has to bite. So I can take those and put it on and turn them to where it locks pretty tight. And then I'll slip it up in to where that stud goes right on that hole. Now it's extended enough to where it's going to bite. And that's all there is to it. On this, I'm going to be using small drywall screws, all-purpose screws. Coarse thread is best for wood. Now I ran a tiny bit right here and here, just a pilot bit so it doesn't split the end because you're right close to the end of wood. This isn't plywood, this is hardwood, so it can split right there. You want to make sure that you run a tiny pilot hole right in there. Once you do that, it's a no-brainer. It slips right in. Make sure you check out my next video because I'm going to show how to do that crown molding an easy way. Anybody can cut this crown molding the way I'm going to show you. So make sure you comment so you can win on this. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out paulstoolbox.com for all my archive videos. Hit like if you found this useful, and I'll see you guys on the next project.